Hi guys, welcome to Excel Finance. This is exciting. This is the first video. And actually the essence of the Excel Finance is to make sure we go through the Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, and we use those tools for our benefit, in particular in the finance areas. I'm not quite sure where this is gonna lead, etc. But I know that this particular focus video, as you can see right now on the screen, is actually on the budget planners. And to be honest with you, this is something that I've been quite passionate about, and I know that a lot of people lately have been using Google Sheets to sell, to develop the budget planners, ultimate budget planners, and they would resell them on Etsy, on their Shopify stores, any other e-commerce platform. Now, I've done a lot of these planners for actually quite a few people right now on Fiverr, where I actually customize them, and I actually do perform. I give them actually their version of the ultimate budget planners to resell. I do have my own version of the budget planner, and this is something that I'm showing you right now. But at the same time, I really want to go through the principles of how these planners are done to make sure that you guys understand the concept. And we will go through a number of different formulas, examples, how to build specific graphs. So this is just a starting video of the great things to come. So without further ado, let's jump into the main model, as you can see right now on the screen, and we will go through it in more detail. So now let's focus on the main model which we currently have, and this is something I really want to show you in more detail right now. The concepts of the model, of the, I would call it financial models or budget planners, is to make sure we track what has been budgeted against something that we are actually spending or earning in terms of the revenue or income. The essence, one of the key tabs which pretty much I would consider every annual budget planner will have, is actually the settings tab, where it sets up the budgeted, your planned expenses, your planned income. For this particular case, this is one of the reasons why I do like this particular ultimate budget planner, is that it does contain a specific differentiation between the income, whether it's an active, whether it's a passive income, whether we have expenses, whether it's needs versus your wants. We have the depth in terms of the high priority, low priorities, and we also have savings in terms of the long term versus what is considered as a short term. And it's very simple actually, that once you start populating the salary, the partner salary, the side hustle, dividends, reimbursement, gifts, you can have a number of different examples. So these categories, income categories, you start populating them and categorizing them, whether it's an active or passive, and you have specified the budget, which is now a case. This is, again, we can change, and you will see right now that the model, the way it works, actually it's done with a purpose to automate much more and simplify your manual input, in the sense just to reduce the manual input. So if my salary would be $5,000, you will see that the model based on the budget will automatically change all the other month for $5,000. This is done very simple because we use the budget column as the reference column, and then we link that into the other month across the table. So this is done very simple, and it works really good. And in case we really want to change back to whatever we want, the amount that we really want, or if it changed, we can just amend and type whatever the number we want. But nevertheless, it's one of the greatest ways to simplify the manual input. This particular model, as I said, I do like, because if in case of our expenses, I know that you can definitely categorize them, expenses versus your bills, subscriptions, etc. So this model, which I really like, is that obviously you can have expense budgets, expense categories. You categorize them into needs versus your wants, And you will see right now in the monthly tabs, we'll go beyond that, and we actually can categorize the expenses, whether they are subscriptions or not, which is really, really good. Nevertheless, you play with this, and again, if we know that our rent is actually 3,500, therefore we already see that the model changes automatically. The good thing about this, something again which I really like, is that you have a dashboard on your right hand side, which actually already tells you that based on the values that you input here in terms of the savings, debt, and this follows the same principle. It actually shows you what the percentage of your income, expense as a percentage of your income, debt as a percentage of your savings as a percentage of income, and also what is remaining, which is really, really good because you really want to understand what balance has been remaining thereafter all the expenses have been deducted. You also have the point where you have an initial balance where you can input, and this is something that you might have some savings in your bank account, so you're not starting from zero, which is fine. But the beauty of this is actually this tab can be used on their own, basically just purely to know your current financial situation, where you are with your expenses, your incomes, your debt and savings. So this is really, really good in my view, just in my view, not biased opinion. Then this is the beautiful part, which I think this particular, I really want to highlight, and something which we'll be exploring more in upcoming videos, is that the concept of the back end and the front end. What you see here as a front end is that all this dashboard, which again I think it just really shows you to as much detail as possible your current monthly financial situation, based on your inputs, of course, but it definitely shows you where your money goes, where your cash inflow, where is your cash outflow. And essentially, again, it tracks your goal, your budgeted versus what is your actuals. And this is again something quite an important one. So in essence, just to give you an example, that we have a salary of $5,000 as a budget, but we actually earn 10, which is really good. Therefore, you will see that we have a positive difference of 5,000 here. We actually have the actual. Automatically, everything changes automatically here. We know that we have increased by $5,000. Therefore, we have actually exceeded we are over goal this month, which was 7,200, but we are actually $4,350 above the target, which is really, really good. We know that actually based on this category, we know that our active income, which is salary, is actually the one that contributes the most. However, if I'll go back to the settings, and if I'll suddenly, just out of nowhere, just untick this box, what will happen, you will see that salary is no longer considered as an active, it's considered as a passive, and therefore it automatically categorizes the 10K that we earned in this month under the passive income. I will apologize this sentence, but this is how it's done correctly. Now, moving forward, you can see, and this is again, you will have specific also the dashboards with the arrows that shows you exactly whether you're up and down on your expenses, debt and savings. But one thing I really wanted to again to emphasize the concept of the front end and the back end. What you see here is actually pure numbers and the graphs. What I mean by that, so I don't, if you will see in more details here, so I do have array formulas here, just basically extracting the information. I have links to the specific information. I don't have any calculations done in this spreadsheet, in this tab. Everything is done at the back end. And why I really want to show you, this is the back end now. So, and I think this is a very good practice. If you're developing your own spreadsheet, dedicate one tab for raw data and calculations, and separate it and create another one which kind of gives you the analysis of the data and the dashboard, because this is critical, because everything that, and you will see now that the structure is very similar. So I know that income, which again I highlighted in a specific color scheme, is in green, expenses is in red, debt, savings, transaction tracker, everything is here and then is taken from this tab and moves towards the monthly tab. So essentially everything that you see here is already being calculated at the back end. And the critical part here is obviously, as in many budget planners, as you will see and know, is the transaction tracker, which is pretty much the essential bit of every budget planner, I'd say, because this is where the transactions are recorded. And similarly here, what we can do is actually, number one, we record the category of the expense, which is done based on the settings tab. So instead of the rent, if I'll change this to mortgage, so what will happen is that the model will automatically update and will appear as, instead of the rent, it's actually the mortgage. And then obviously it's not that 5,000, but let's put it to our initial budgeted. So you will go up here and we know that the mortgage is actually matches the budget versus the actual, which is the actually what we really want to see. There is zero difference. But the model per se, you will see that there are specific small dashboards furthermore to get you kind of a bigger analysis towards your goals versus the actual. Again, shows you if you're over or not, active, passive income. You also have, given that in the settings tab, you're able to categorize needs versus wants. It's also going to give you actually a breakdown of what is your need versus what is your want. And the extra bit, which is quite exciting part, is that here in the subscriptions, as long as you categorize this as a subscription, it will tell you that there you go, subscription accounts for $150, and then it will be 4% of the total expense. This is the exciting part, I think. Again, some more details about the high priority, low priority debts, long-term, short-term savings. Nevertheless, this is the beauty of it. But this is, again, this is the front end. The back end, this is where everything is done and calculated. So only thing I need to is to make sure I have the structure of my front end. This is how I want it to look like, the information I want to put into my front end, and then I'll do the calculations at the back end, and the only thing I do is to link them here. So pretty much all the data is here is taken from the back end. And it's not that complex per se, as long as you can visualize, you can structure your monthly tab, your budget planner per se. It's not that complex, because later on you are able just purely to make these beautiful graphs, make the different dashboards, to make sure you have, whether it's spark lines, whether this is spark lines, whether it's more like the pie charts, and then you can play with the different pie charts with the color schemes, whether you want the donut, obviously you have the donut charts and graphs. So everything is, and then obviously you can have a more of with a transparent background, so you can see the percentage within, so you can play with this. And similarly goes to all the other months. Essentially, I have the backend tab, which is actually here. If you go and press here in this, how many lines, 3 or 4 lines, right button, so you will see that I have hidden all the data which comes from all these tabs, and they're all linked backend to each monthly tab, because I have transaction tracker for each of the month. And essentially it gives you an infinite level of transactions, but you can record. So that's why I kind of really like this one. And ultimately you really want to have the annual overview, and this is, again, goes beyond what is I'd say analytically and details, how much you can understand and have a look what is actually there for you in terms of how much you can actually input in terms of your income goals, in terms of your expenses. This is pretty much gives you a great summary. And again, I do have for this particular data, I do have actually a backend where I calculate everything. And this is predominantly either the filter functions, some if functions, query functions, and obviously you will see much more, and we will explore much more how to add more graphical representation by using specific images or icons, whether it's arrows, whether you see some, maybe you have seen some models we have like the growing trees, money trees going, maybe you'll have so basically essentially different graphical representations as long as you move towards your goal. So this is again quite big, but nevertheless it gives you the averages, which I really wanted. What is your highest month, what is your highest income month, lowest income month. It's essentially high priority depth, low priority depth. It's just purely analysis based on all the monthly tabs which we have. So essentially what this is kind of an introduction video for us to kind of get familiarized with my face, with the things which I really want to show and to achieve with this particular budget planner. We'll do the following. Obviously this is just purely introduction video. In the next videos I'll explore in more details the formulas which we're going to be using at the back end of this, because otherwise it literally going to take ages. But what I would do appreciate, number one, in the comments below, what do you think overall about the model? That's number one. Second, I'm not gonna lie, there is a specific, let's say, cost to this model, so I'll link below if you want a discounted, quite significant discount for this model, so I'll link them below. And ultimately the goal is not necessarily to sell the model per se, but to teach, educate how you can do this, and essentially is to create a specific newsletter where we talk about the specific formulas, how to achieve specific trackers, and this is just the starting point. So the newsletter is what I'm really interested in for educational part. So if you can, obviously do subscribe to the newsletter if you like the video, like and share. But nevertheless, for me, that is my main goal actually right now. So we can create some very cool dashboards, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of Google Sheets, even more than Excel, given that flexibility and ability to kind of to disseminate the information, to share the information. And yeah, this is it, I think. What else? I think I've said everything. So, one thing I really forgot to mention, as many people are creating different Etsy stores, you can develop many different color schemes that you want, and you can rent different versions of the same file. It gives you a much broader and depth kind of opportunity to sell those. In particular, I do have this type of number of color schemes, including the one in the night mode. So anything, this is it. Thank you. If you can subscribe, and I'll see you next video where we're going to be jumping to much more in depth how to create these planners. Thank you.